All right, fourth graders, we are going to go nice and quick and cooperative because you don't want me to know that you're sus, right, when you're not paying attention. Okay, so let's look over. If you're not following along, you're very suspicious. You're very sus. Better find it. All right, let's look over chapter 13's page to start. Whoa, hello, class. All right, there we go. We'll end with the prediction. Sound good? Okay. Let's do the think about it. What does Marty say he will do if Judd doesn't sell him Shiloh? What did he say? Lizzie, what did he say?
He will go straight the other direction.
Right? He's like, if Judd shows up, I'm just going to turn around and take Shiloh and run, pretty much, right? He's going to take him.
Yes, he does.
He's saying if Judd shows up to his house, right? He would take Shiloh and pretty much run away. Yep. What can you infer about who shot the deer and why? Ooh, what do you think? Kateri, what can you infer?
I think Judd did because it said it in the book, and it was only by his house. And if someone else was in his house, he'd be really mad.
Okay. So it was near Judd's house, so that helps us with our inference. What else helps us make that inference? Ryan?
I think it's Judd because he shoots at a deer season.
We know he shoots at a deer out of season. That is a great tool to help us. Good part of an inference. What else might you have had? Thomas?
He was coming from, I think, his house.
He was coming from out of the woods, right? To the deer that was down. We're getting closer to it. Holly?
They said he stepped out with the rifle in his hand.
He steps out and we end and he has that rifle. So you can infer that the gunshot came from the man with the rifle, right? Micah?
It might not be Judd, but I know it is. But it might not be because you couldn't hear the dogs.
Because you couldn't hear the dogs, right? But do you need dogs to deer hunt?
Yeah.
Do you know what you use dogs for? What kind? Nathan? Usually like bird hunting, like pheasants, or rabbits usually, because the rabbits like to hop and go kind of crazy. They need to find them in the ground. But if you're doing a deer, they're bigger and you can usually see them, right? All right, fabulous inferences. All right, let's go down here, number 3. What do you think that Marty will do with this new information that he's gathered? So Judd came out of the woods, he's got the rifle. Coming off that inference, what's Marty going to do with that info? What's he going to do, Peter? He's going to say he can't do anything. Judd's got a reason for everything, so Marty can't really do anything. Ooh, interesting. What else might you think? What else might you think? Nathan?
He's going to go to the police.
Why do you think he'll go to the police? So you can get fined, right? That's an expensive fine. Do you remember how much they said? Like $200. What else might he do? What else might he do with that information? Rosie?
I would say, I'm keeping the dog, and then I'll write how much I and my parents would just probably go tell
So kind of using that information to get what you want. All right, Claire? So maybe he'll go back and tell the family, and then they can all go over and see what's happening. Ooh, Brooke.
I think maybe Marty might ask why Judd is doing it. I mean, if he's doing it out of season, there has to be a reason, or if he's just crazy.
So maybe Marty's gonna try and figure out what that reason could be. Ooh, lots of good ideas.
Well, all right. There's no reason he's gonna be just crazy.
Let's actually go down to the stop and jot. We said we'll end with the prediction. Well, how does the way that Marty cares about animals show his character traits? Remember he said, I can't imagine anybody shooting a deer. What does that tell us about Marty? What does that tell us about Marty? Lily?
He's got a lot of bravery, and he just doesn't it. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it shows that he's brave because he's choosing to not do it. Maddie?
He kind of doesn't want to shoot deer and stuff. He kind of just wants to let them live.
So what does that show about his traits? Yep, you're right. He wants to let him live. So he's very sensitive. He's very sensitive, Monica?
He also has a big heart.
He's big-hearted, right? He cares about a lot of things, not just people, right? He's thinking about everything out there. Awesome. All right, and your predictions. What did you draw a picture of or write about how the story's going to go? How's our story going to end if it was up to you right now? Judd walks out of the woods. What would happen next according to you? Christian?
Maybe they work out some sort of thing to work like a debate or something.
So kind of like an agreement. They kind of have a discussion and they figure out what they can do so that they can keep Shiloh. Maybe. Rosie?
I think Dad would probably just throw the rifle and then just walk up to Marty and say, I didn't do it.
And that's the end of our story. Maybe. We'll have to see what happens today. I want to make sure that we can get to everything we have planned for today, okay? So, we've got 2 vocab words for today. Our first one is blackmail. It is not male, that is black. Good try. Blackmail, and a hush fell over the class, is the crime of, I'm going to come down below because the next word's a little long, threatening to tell secret, because this definition's so long, I'm going to do an abbreviation, info. Do you know what info means?
Yeah.
Information. Unless you get what you want. So usually one person has some secret information and one person doesn't want that information to get out, right? The person who knows the information has a lot of power, right? Because they're like, you don't want this information to get out? I would like $100 and a back rub and a coffee and a puppy, right? You kind of get to say what you want, and then that person's got to do it. Otherwise, what's going to happen?
They have to tell the information.
The information comes out. Ooh. And our last jingle. All. We got our last word is bargained. That's a B underneath there. Bargained is, it can be a good price, but we're going to use another definition. It's an agreement or price, so similar, agreement or price, in order to make it more appealing. So you come to a bargain so that one person's like we kind of bargain back and forth over board pieces, right? I'm like, you do this, then you can have this, right? It's kind of like an if-then. You kind of work back and forth so you get something and I get something out of it. You bargain back and forth so it's good for both ends. Sometimes it might be like that, but if you're doing more work, if I'm doing more work, I might say I want 60% and you get 40% then, right? So if I'm doing more work, I think I get more money. So we would bargain back and forth and try and find a good price or agreement. All right. Are we ready to keep reading, Shiloh? Oh. Make sure you have your books. If you don't have a book, follow along with a neighbor, please. Okay, I don't have any extra books, otherwise I would give one to you. Okay? All right, chapter 14. We are almost done. Okay, so remember, look back at the last page. We just left off, and on the other side steps Judd Travers, rifle in hand. He's wearing this army camouflage shirt, a brown cap, and the weirdest grin that could fit on a human face. Woo-wee! He says, holding the rifle up with one hand as he plows through the weeds. I got her! Woo-wee! I know he wasn't out shooting rabbits and happened to get a doe instead because he doesn't have his hounds with him. Judge Travers had gone out that morning with the clear intention of getting himself a deer. I also know that if the game warden finds out about it, Judd's in big trouble because the deer he shot out of season wasn't even a buck. He slogs over through waist-high weeds to where the doe lays. Bending over, he looks at her, walks around her a little piece, then says, "Woo-wee," again, soft-like. That's when I come out of the woods. He's got his back to me now, his hands on the doe's front legs, trying to see can he pull her himself. Drags her a little way and stops. And when he looks up again, I'm right beside him. He whirls around. "Where'd you come from?" he says. "Was on my way over to see you," I tell him. And for the first time, I'm standing next to Judge Travers. I feel taller than I really am. He looks at me a moment like he doesn't know if he's glad I'm there or not. Then I guess he figures me being there, only a kid, don't matter. "Look what I got," he says. "Found her eating at my garden this morning, and I chased her over here." "That's a lie," I say. "I was back in the woods watching her eat. She was coming down from the hills the other way. You went out deer hunting for anything you could get." "Well, suppose I did," says Judge Travers, and he hates me worse than snot. "Deer ain't in season, that's what," I answer. "There's a $200 fine for killing a doe." Judge Travers is staring at me like he's about to crack me across the mouth. The way we're raised around here, folk don't talk back to grown folks. Don't hardly talk much at all. In fact, learn to listen. Keep your mouth shut. Let the grown folks do the talking. And here I am, shooting my mouth off at 5:30 in the morning to a man holding a rifle. Am I crazy or what? "Not unless the game warden finds out there's not," Judd says. "And who's going to tell him? You?" All at once I realize I got Judge Travers right where I want him. One way you look at it, it's my duty to report a killed doe. The way folks up here look at it, though, that's snitching. And if I could tell, but bargain not to, it's something else again. It's blackmail. But like I said, I've got to the place I'd do almost anything to save Shiloh. "Yeah," I say, my heart pounding like crazy. "I'll tell. There's a free number to call." There is, too. It's on Dad's hunting regulation papers. Boy, I sure didn't know I was going to step into all this when I come up here this morning. Now Judd's looking at me good. Eyes narrowed down to little slits. "Your pa put you up to this?" "No, this is me talking." "Well, ain't you something now? And who's to believe you? I'll get the game warden up here, show him the spot the doe was hit, the blood, and when he finds the deer at your place, he'll believe me. The words are coming out quicker than I can think almost. I'll tell him he was eating my garden, and I'll say different. The new game warden won't make any allowances, even if the deer was eating your garden. You just don't shoot deer out of season, no way. Especially a doe. Do you know why, especially not a doe?
Because
Do you know, Holly? No? Zach?
Because the doe are like the moms, and they need to produce baby deer.
Yep.
So that you have more population into the hunting season.
Yep.
But you never know to shoot baby deer or
So that they can grow. So they can take care of the baby deer, right? The little fawns. And so they can make more deer so that when hunting season is in season, there's more deer to hunt too. It helps keep the population in control so they don't go extinct. Okay? Now Judd's really angry. And his words come at me like bees. "What are you trying to do, boy? Stir up trouble? You think I can't put you in your place mighty quick?" "So what you going to do?" I ask. "Shoot me?" Travers is so surprised, his jaw drops. But I'm cooking now. Nothing can stop me. Braver than I ever been in my life. "Going to shoot me like that dog I found up here 6 months back with a bullet in his head?" Travers stares some more. "I know whose bullet that was, Judd, and I told Dad. And if folks find me up here with a bullet in me, Dad'll know whose bullet that is, too." I can't hardly believe the words that's coming out of my mouth. Been scared most of my life of Judd Travers, and here I am, half his size, talking like a grown person. It's because I know Shiloh still got a chance. So what you waiting for? Judd says finally. Go get the game warden. And when I don't move, he says, come off it, Marty. Here, you take one of those legs, I'll take the other. We'll drag it to my place, and I'll give you half the meat. Don't tell me your ma won't be glad of it. I don't want the meat. I want Shiloh. Now Judd's really surprised and whistles through his teeth. Boy, you just come up here to set me up, didn't you? Didn't have an idea in this world you was out with your rifle, I tell him. And that was one of the first truths I told in 2 weeks. I come up here because it's Sunday, the day you said to bring your dog back. And I wanted you to know you gotta fight me first to get him. Now I'm telling you I mean to keep him. And you expect to keep that deer without a fine? You'll make the trade. Whoa, says Travers. That's no kind of trade at all. If I hadn't got me a deer this morning, what would you have bargained with then? I didn't have an answer to that because I hadn't been thinking about a deal. Judd had already said he wouldn't sell Shiloh. Judd's eyes narrow down even more till it's almost like he's asleep. I'll just bet you would tell the game warden too. Jesus' name, I would. And you're saying if I let you keep my hunting dog, you're going to keep this deer secret? I begin to see now I'm no better than Judd Travers, willing to look the other way to get something I want. But the something is Shiloh. Yes, I will, I tell him, not feeling all that great about it. Well, you got to do more than that, boy, because I paid $35 for that dog, and I want $40 to let him go. For the first time, I see a thin ray of hope that maybe he'll let me buy Shiloh. I'll get you the money somehow, by and by, I promise. I don't want the money by and by. I want it now. And you haven't got it now. You work for me and pay it off. You make a deal with Judd Travers and you're only 11 years old, you take what you get. But all I'm thinking is, dog. You got a bargain, I tell Judd. And now my feet want to dance, my face wants to smile, but I don't dare let the delight show through. You listen here, says Judd. I'll pay you $2 an hour, and that comes to 20 hours to earn $40. And the work ain't easy. I'll do it, I say. Beginning now, Judd says. And I can tell he's getting a bit edgy that someone else might come up through the field, wondering about those rifle shots, and see how he's got a doe. Help me get this deer to my trailer. So, I'm so glad to be getting Shiloh. I can hardly think straight, but I'm thinking straight enough as I help drag that doe to Judd's to know that by letting him get away with this, I'm putting other deer in danger. He killed this one out of season. He'll figure maybe he can kill some more to save Shiloh. I'm making it harder for deer. I swallow. All I gotta do, though, is think of the way he'd look at me. I ever give him back to Judd, and then I get on with my job. When we get to the trailer at last, we carry the deer around to the 3-sided shed Judd's got in his backyard. First thing Judd does is bleed the doe, keep the meat from spoiling. Then he goes out and messes up the tracks with his foot, kicking up the grass where he matted it down and covering the trail with blood and dust. I get home from work every day at 3, Judd says, and I want you here when I pull up. You work for me 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I want that wood back there stacked. I want the weeds cut and the grass mowed. I want my beans picked, the corn hoed. Whatever I think ought to be done, that's what you do. And I want you here starting tomorrow. I'll be here, I says, but I want it in writing that after I do 20 hours work for you, Shiloh belongs to me. Travers grunts and goes into his trailer. He comes out with a piece of grocery sack and the words, Beagle hunting dog to Marty Preston for 20 hours work. J. Travers. It occurs to me suddenly that maybe, after I do the work, he'll try to pay me off with one of his other dogs. Right, Shiloh, I tell him. He gives me a pained look and crosses off Beagle and writes Shiloh in its place, but don't spell it right. Leaves off the H at the end. I take the paper and put it in my pocket. I'll be here tomorrow, I say. And you ever tell anyone about this deer, boy, you're going to be more than sorry you opened your lips. You got my word, I say. which, considering all the lying I've been doing lately, didn't seem like it amounted to much. It did, though. I walked away from Judd's trailer in a sort of zigzag line, half expecting a bullet in my back any moment, even though I'm pretty sure he wouldn't. Soon as I'm out of sight, though, I race through the woods, heart going thumpity-thump. Can't keep the smile back no longer. Shiloh's mine. The words keep coming back again and again. He's safe. Should feel even more joyful, though. I thought once if I could just get Shiloh for my own, it would be the finest day of my life. In a way it is. In a way it isn't. Could be Judd's give in 'cause he couldn't think of nothing else at the moment to do. Said I could have Shiloh just because he needed some help with that deer. Could be that once he got rid of the evidence, he'd tell me to go ahead and get the warden. Then I wasn't to have the dog. Could even say he never wrote that on the grocery sack, that I wrote it myself. I don't think so, though. What worries me most is that Judd could go through with his bargain, give Shiloh to me, but then someday when Shiloh's running free in the woods by himself, Judd might put a bullet in his head just to spite me. And we'll see how Marty and Judd's deal goes on Monday.
Oh, this is so good.
Oh my goodness.
Now
Did
that
you
was
expect
climax.
him to blackmail Judd?
Now that was climax.
That was kind of like the peak of the climax of our story, right? Them making that bargain.
Both blackmailed each other.
They kind of did a little bit. How did Judd kind of blackmail Marty?
Well, because Marty wanted the dog, and then Marty said he was gonna tell the warden and stuff.
They kind of had a back and forth banter, but like right?
And then Judd said, if you don't tell him, he wants the dog, and
Yeah. All right. How did Marty feel when he's confronting Judd? He used a very specific phrase about his height. What did he feel? Amelia? He felt taller than ever, right? Almost as tall as Judd. What does that mean? When an author uses a phrase like that, as tall as I've ever done, what does that mean? Claire? Older, or maybe even a little proud, right? Like you're standing tall, like, look at me go. Like I'm almost like Superman standing there nice and tall. Okay? Do you think it was a fair trade?
No.
Why is it not a fair trade?
Because he's going against the law.
He's going against the law. What else, Lily?
20 hours. And I feel like Judge is doing it because he thinks like
$2 and then 20 hours total, though, right? That's a lot of work for a little dog, right? Okay.
Especially because he's going against the law and he still has to work for Judd.
He has to work for Judd, and he's still going against the law because the deer, right? All those deer are going to get hurt. We are going to look at our page next really quickly. What I'd like you to do is don't cross this part out for me, but you can put a little X in the corner. We're going to do this part next week. Okay, so you don't have to do this part for homework. We'll do this part next week. But then your homework is to compare Marty and Judd's relationship. Tell me about Judd after reading this chapter, all of the traits you can. How many do you think for a minimum?
4.
I think 4 is good. You need at least 4 traits. See if you can get more. What can you describe Judd as?
Blackmailer.
And then, is what Marty and Judd was what they're doing wrong?
Yes.
Why or why not?
Yes, because
Well, everyone's opinion's different. Is it wrong? Why or why not? There's no right answer for the stop and drop ones. That's your opinion. So that is your homework for today.